Hey, Kevin Wright back here with another property finance video. And this week we're going to be talking about, is property investment too good to be true? You want to find out whether it is or whether it isn't? Stick around. Now this week we're going to be looking at, are some property deals too good to be true? Or to put it another way, is there a grenade hidden in there that's going to blow up once you've bought the property? Now I was helping someone look at a potential deal a few weeks ago, and it looked unbelievably cheap. It was a 3-bedroom terrace property, and it was significantly cheaper than other similar terrace properties in the same part of town. Now the person I was chatting to was getting very excited because they think they've picked up this unbelievable bargain. So let's drill down and see if actually it was too good to be true. Now when you jumped on Google Maps and took the little yellow man and popped it down into the street and had a look up and down the street, what you saw was right next door to this 3-bed terrace was a pub. You may be one of the people that think, how fabulous, I can go in, have a skinful, dagger out, and I'm home in about 10 seconds. And if you're not one of those people, then you're probably more aligned with mortgage lenders thinking. Now here's the thing with mortgage lenders. With any type of mortgage, they've got their one eye on what happens if you don't keep up the mortgage payments, you build up months and months of arrears, and you give them little option but to repossess you. If they repossess someone, they want to put the property on the market as quickly as possible and sell it with as little fuss to get their capital back. And every mortgage application that's processed, the underwriter takes this into consideration. When mortgage lenders' underwriters are analysing this potential repossession scenario, what they're looking for is any aspect or characteristic or factor of the property that could make that getting rid of it quick more problematic. Now, here's where the pub comes in, but it's not just pubs. What they're looking at is there's a certain number of people that would be very wary about buying a property right next door to a pub because it's open late into the evening. Now that's antisocial. It's also going to be noisy. Either there's music playing in the pub, although not all pubs have music, but there's that just general hubbub people in the pub. And then of course it's what happens when people come out of the pub. There's something missing in your life, and I know what it is. It's subscribing to my YouTube channel. You know you're going to feel better. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Subscribe, click the link and the dingy belly thing and the Instagram. That feels so much better, doesn't it? So when people have had a few drinks, they tend not to be as quiet as a church mouse. So there's that noise in the street. And of course, there's all the other antisocial things that people can get up to when they've been drinking. So in other words, part of the potential buying market would look at that and say, I'm never going to buy a property that's next door to a pub. Now it's simple economics to say, if you've got something that's less desirable, you've got to knock the price down to make it attractive. And that's exactly what was going on here. This property that looked unbelievably cheap wasn't unbelievably cheap. It was about the right price for the pub next door. Now, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't get a mortgage on this property. It does mean they'd have to pay probably a significantly higher rate. And again, this is basic economics. When someone does what most of their competition won't do, they tend to charge a premium price to factor in the additional risk. And it would be the same here. So the decisive factors here would be, what could you rent it for? What's the mortgage going to be? Is there a big enough margin? Is there big enough margin on the positive monthly cash flow? And how easy is it going to be to get and keep a tenant in that particular property? Now, if that all stacks and you think you can make good money on it, then it's okay to buy a property next to a pub or a restaurant or a takeaway or any other type of commercial property. And of course, one thing it's a great idea to do is chat to the other people in the adjoining houses that already live there and try and get some sort of benchmark on how disruptive this pub is going to be. So the watchword here is, if something looks cheap, is it because there's a reason that you don't know on first glance, but becomes apparent when you do some deeper digging? Now, of course, it could just be that the seller is highly motivated to get out of that particular property and go somewhere else. Not that there's anything wrong with the property, but just they need to be somewhere else for what's happening in their life. And that could be okay. But when you see a property that looks too good to be true, your antennae should be up and saying, let me see if I can find the drawback to this property. And that drawback would make it not the deal it seems. So there we are. Now, that's me done for this this week. I'm going to be back next week with another property finance video. I'll see you then. If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.